In this video, I'm going to share you the Agile as well as Scrum part of PMP. This is going to be a quick summary and it is going to help you onto that. Okay, now first of all, Agile is a mindset. I love to say that Agile is nothing but a mindset. What do I mean by mindset? Now, I know that Agile actually works with incremental delivery. We make minimum viable product. You make something, you give it to the customer, you get the feedback from the customer and you improve into that. That is the hardcore concept of Agile. This goes for the mindset part. Okay, this goes for the mindset part of the Agile. But the entire thing we need to understand is based on 4 values. Okay, you can say that the 4 values are more like pillars of 4 pillars of Agile. And Agile is standing on that. Okay, so this is more like the 4 pillars of Agile, the 4 values. The first value, anyone can be the first value. The first value, of course, is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Now, what does that mean? This means the old saying, customer is always right. Yes, that means actually the customer is always right. Now you can say, Amer, I work in a construction. In the construction, customer is not always right. You are 100% right. Let's go back to the which type of project Agile actually uses. Let me use another paper for that. Okay. So which type of project Agile work? For this one value, I'm going back. Which type of project Agile work? So on x-axis, I'm gonna put delivery. On y-axis, I'm gonna put scope, or also known as requirements. Okay, so at the start, delivery is one go. As we move from in x-axis, the delivery become multiple delivery. Here the scope is fixed on y-axis. Here the scope will be variable. Okay, so just to put in the context, this is what I'm saying into that. Okay, I'm gonna divide it into 2 by 2 dimensions. Into 2 by 2 dimension. When your scope is fixed, and your delivery is one go, where you say no, contract is more important. I said customer collaboration over contract negotiation. You say no, my scope is fixed. I don't want customer to add anything. That is the classical example. When scope is fixed, delivery is one go. We called it predictive projects, also known as plan driven or traditional. All means the same thing. This means the scope is fixed. It's not going to change. Example, bridge. Construction of a bridge. You never see you go into that a bridge is half. No, that never happens. The bridge is entirely complete. This is the classical example. Waterfall, also known as a waterfall. This is predictive project. Okay. Now, in the next process, you say my scope is fixed, but I want delivery in parts. Okay. This is example of incremental project. This is your incremental project. What happens in that? You get delivery in parts. E-series movies, Marvel movies, like I like to use the example of Game of Thrones. We know Daenerys has to reach the throne, but she is going there in parts. So E-series is example of that. E-learning, I am making videos in parts, is example of that. Okay, so this is incremental project. Your scope is fixed. Okay, scope is fixed and delivery can be multiple deliveries. Here a scope was fixed and delivery is one go. Okay. Now Let's say my scope can be changed, it can be adopted, it can be changeable. But whereas my delivery, I'm gonna get delivery as one go. The example is prototype. I show it to the customer, I change it. I show it to the customer, I change it. But finally, when I deliver, the delivery is one go. The project is known as here iterative project. Which, if I can use black color. Not good. Oh yeah. Iterative. Marker is useless. Scope is variable, delivery is one go. I show to the client said, okay, add this, add this, add this, but finally when I release, it is one go. Example is design. When the designs are made, they are made in this way. Prototype, when we make any prototype, the example is that way. The final one, and that is the last one, is Agile. In Agile, your scope is variable and delivery is in parts. Now, when you say that, hey Amer, but I don't follow this value, where does your project fall in this chart? Where does your project fall? That is the most important thing. Okay? And these three projects, iterative, incremental, and agile, they are also known as change driven. Okay? And for easiness, whenever we say agile, iterative, incremental comes under it. Okay? Then we have hybrid project, that's a combination of predictive and agile. But remember this 2x2 matrix, everything about the agile will become clear to you. Now let's go back to the next pillar of agile. We discussed customer collaboration over contract negotiation. The next pillar is respond to change over following a plan. Now, what does that mean? It means whenever the customer wants the change, it goes back to again, now I want to give something that is value to the customer. And if the customer says this thing is not right, this thing is not important, this thing need to be changed, I do that. There is no question into that. If customer says that this needs to be changed, I do that. Whenever the change is there, many people say that, okay, now the sprint has started, I'm not going to change. No. The customer says it needs to be changed, it needs to be changed. Respond to a change over following a plan. The third value is about a product. Working software over comprehensive documentation. What does that mean? That means whatever works, that works. Like, make a minimum viable product, make a MVP, minimum viable product or minimum marketable feature product, show to the customer. If the customer says, okay, this is good, that's good. If the customer says, no, this is not good, then we change it, adopt into that. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Give them a prototype, give them something to feel instead of talking. No, give them some tangible, provide them the thing. And when they say, okay, this is a good thing, and that's the point. Working software over comprehensive documentation, a very important thing in the project. Now, the last one is individual and interactions over processes and tools. This is about the team. This says that, you see, in Agile, the team is empowered. The team is given the power to execute. The team is held responsible. The team is worked into that way, right? So the team is given the full freedom. The team is given the full freedom. So we do not budge the team what you did, what you don't did. So individual and interaction over processes and tool, the way the team wants to do, the way the team wants to work, let them do. It's okay. If the team think, okay, this is not the right way, that's okay. That's their job. If they feel this needs to be this way, okay, they are accountable, they are empowered. A very important concept we use in Agile is T-type leader. These are the people who have in-depth knowledge of one domain and widespread knowledge of other domains. So we use T-type leaders in the projects. Very important, very critical. So 4 values of Agile. If you master that, you master the Agile. This is actually the cornerstone of Agile that comes and that we work into that. Then another thing that we need to know is 5 events of Scrum, 3 roles and 3 documents. I will start with them. We'll start with the sprint planning. Okay, actually sprint. Sprint is 1 to 4 week, but normally it is 2 week. Why it is normally 2 week? You see, 1 week is very small length, 4 week is so much big length that a customer will change. We do not want customer to change all the time. We can change, but we do not want to change unnecessary. So we do 2 week sprints. Okay, sprint is the duration. Instead of dividing the project into 1 year or dividing it into week, we called it sprint. Sprint can be 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week. It's the length of that. Okay. At the start of the sprint, you have sprint planning meeting. The purpose, as you can see, let's say we divide the entire project. There's a project, we divide into 2 weeks from January till December, 2, so 26 sprints in 1 year. Okay, we have sprint planning meeting. In sprint planning meeting, what do? We have product backlog. What is a product backlog? One of the document I said you need to know the 3 documents. Product backlog is the list of all requirements. Requirements are called user story in that. So list of all requirement prioritized by high value, high risk by product owner. Okay, product owner is a person, you can call him business analyst for EasyNet. He defines the value in Agile. He defines what is the most valuable thing. He is the owner of product backlog. Product backlog, one more time, is the list of all the requirements we do in our project. So list of all requirements, product owner basically look at all the requirements, what are the requirements that is needed, and he makes them. Okay, so product owner basically goes with the Scrum Master. In Agile, Scrum Master is the project manager. Is a servant leadership, like he helps them, he facilitates, he does not order. So product owner goes to the sponsor and other customers, can be called as client. They collect their user story. User story is a requirement. They go to the client, collect the user story and put in the product backlog. One more time, product owner goes to the client, goes to the sponsor, collect the user story, put in the product backlog. Now we have all the user stories. He goes back to them again or even in the same meeting. Then he prioritizes them based on the value. Can we use Moscow? What are the must? Number 1 priority requirement, should, number 2 requirement, could, number 3, number 4 would likely to have next time. High value requirements are done. Then the team comes, your T-type leader, which we already discussed. They are T-type empowered people. They know how to do the work. So there are 3 roles: product owner that defines the value, okay, and is the owner of product backlog, Scrum Master, your servant leader, and team. Team are the empowered people. They know how to do something. Okay, so they look at the user story. They estimate each user story, how much time it will take or effort. How much time a user story will take, it is called story point. Okay, how much time a user story will take or effort required to complete a user story is called story point. Okay, they calculate the story point of each user story and they make in the product backlog. Now your product backlog have all the user story A, B, C, D with the value, with the effort required to complete. Like they use Idle Ors, Fibonacci series, and Idle or wideband Delphi they can use to get the consensus. The purpose is using mostly Agile odds are used. You can also use Fibonacci series or affinity estimation, comparison analysis to calculate the story points. Now we have the story points there, effort required to complete. We have the value there. Of course, the team, when they are calculating the story point, they will also calculate the risk. So product backlog will be high value, high risk. The bottom line is you get a product backlog, that is a list of user story with high value, high risk for you. I hope that is not too much for you. Okay, so product owner collect the user story, that is the requirements, put in the product backlog. He defines the value, high value. Team defines the risk. So now you have product backlog with high value, high risk, as well as with story points. Now in the first sprint, let's say this is the first sprint, the team will make sprint backlog. You can say sprint backlog number 1. Here they will say how much work they can do in one sprint. Like how much work you can do in one sprint is called velocity of that sprint. Okay, how much work you can do in one sprint is velocity work you can do in a sprint. It has user stories, high value, high risk, story point, effort we discussed already. I'm writing it down on the chart. Okay, velocity work you can do in a sprint. The first, they say, okay, let's say they say we can do, there are 5 developers, 5 team members, they can work 8 hours, they say we can do 40 story points. So that becomes your estimated velocity for the first sprint. Okay, now once it is agreed, product owner agree, of course, the team product owner say no, do 60, the team say we can do 30. Scrum master will take a grease between 2 gears, get a consensus, and we get our sprint goal here. Now the team will start working into that. On daily basis, they will meet together and they will discuss status. That meeting is called daily stand-up. Okay, in daily stand-up, they will meet each other. They will discuss what we have done yesterday, what we are going to do today, and is there any roadblocks or impediment. Like if there is any roadblock, problems, we will discuss that. Just status sharing meeting. It's a status sharing. Okay, it's only 15 minutes, same time, same location. Actually, we are looking at the information radiators to share the status. Like we use task board that shows to do, in progress. We use burn down chart. We use burn up chart. Okay, burn down chart shows how much work is remaining. Burn up chart shows how much work is done. We can use a Kanban board. There is a bottleneck to identify the bottleneck in the process. Every day we do 15-minute, same time, same location meeting to see what we have done, what we are going to do. Is there any roadblock? Is there anything that we can improve? So we keep on sharing that. Achha, this is a status sharing meeting. If somebody start discussing the problem and the meeting is going above 5 minutes, above 15 minutes, the process get derailed. So we do not want. If they have anything they want to discuss with each other, they can have a follow-up meeting. Not there. Okay, not there. The stand-up is a progress sharing meeting. Once 2 weeks are done, now time is done. Now you are going to have sprint review, that is also known as sprint demo. We are going to review our sprint. It consists of 2 parts. Demo. Here client comes, you show them your completed user stories. How do you know that user story is completed? We have a checklist that is called definition of done. I will review my definition of done when my user story is completed. You see, we are working in a test driven development. Like I make a definition of done. Definition of done will tell me, okay, there are 10 things, A, B, C, D, E, F. When all these things are completed, now my user story is completed. Okay, for example, let's say you are making a pizza. So the bread is proper, it has ginger on it, meat on it, the ketchup is there. That shows your definition of done is completed. Now a user story is okay by you, is right by you, is according to definition of done 100%, then you show to the client. When you show to the client, if the client accept, now client have also his checklist, and the client accept according to that checklist, and the name is acceptance criteria. If it is according to that, the client accept it, it says good, it goes into, if client accepts, it goes into product increment. If the client rejects, or it is incompleted, or at this stage you get new requirement and your old requirement, all this goes back to product backlog. Okay, it goes back to product backlog. It does not goes back to, many students when I ask this question, they says it goes to sprint backlog. No, once the sprint is over, that the purpose of that sprint backlog was for that sprint. The times are over, that is done. For next sprint, we will have next sprint backlog. Once demo is done, since client is that there, we will do second part, that is called grooming of the product backlog, refinement of the product backlog. Both things happen in sprint review. Here the client review that, and he again shares you, okay, we can reprioritize it. Maybe with the Moscow, some new user story has come that take more priority. It becomes more valuable there. Okay, you do a grooming of there. Okay, once the sprint review is done, the team sits together. The team do their meeting, their self-reflection, that is called sprint retrospective. It's a lesson learned meeting to share the progress, to identify the improvements. It is not for share the progress. It has 5 steps: set the stage, gather data, generate insights, decide what to do, and close the retrospective. The most important one, of course, is generate insights. Step 3. That's a lesson learned step. Okay, close the retrospective. This is 5 step. Now you keep on doing work, keep on doing work. This is how you do work. Few things I want to add one more time. When the question says who decides value, product owner, like what is the most important thing you should work in, how much effort it should take, or how to do, it is development team. Scrum master act like a servant leader, grease for you, working in along the way. Okay, now the question can come, who can cancel the sprint? Product owner. If the client says in between the sprint add something, can we do? First answer is yes, we can do that. Product owner should have a meeting with the client, why it is needed, then ask the team if they can adjust it, or maybe from the sprint backlog remove less priority item and you can add more item into that. Normally we do not do that to avoid a scope creep, but if it is something very important, we can do that. Anytime if a client wants to change something, they can change. It goes directly to product owner, put in the product backlog, and we reprioritize the product backlog. So 5 events: sprint planning, daily stand-up, sprint review, sprint retrospective. Sprint is 1 to 4 weeks. Sprint planning decide what we are gonna do in the sprint. We make sprint backlog, which is basically from product backlog we get user stories what we are gonna do. Then we have daily stand-up meeting, 15 minutes, same time, same location. What you did yesterday, what you are going to do today, any roadblock improvement, any roadblocks, and we discuss the information radiators there. Burn up chart, how much you have done. Burn down chart, how much is remaining. Task board showing the status. Kanban board actually looking into the bottleneck, what is the thing that is stopping us. Then once it is done, we have sprint review, 2 parts. One is demo, where we show to the client the things that has been completed according to definition of done, and if that user story is according to client checklist acceptance criteria, it goes into product increment. If it get rejected, it goes into product backlog. And in the grooming, we reprioritize the product backlog. And retrospective is lesson learned meeting. Product owner, Scrum master, product owner defines the value, Scrum master, servant leader, development team decides how much time a user story need, how to do it. Product backlog, list of all user story, high value, high risk. sprint backlog, what you are going to do in this sprint, product increment, what has been accepted by the client. 4 values, 12 principles. I did not discuss the principles. Principle is actual extension of the 4 values, and this Scrum thing. That's it. Okay. If you can master this, okay, your Agile is done. I hope that makes sense to you.